Hi, folks. You were Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a string of advertising, marketing, product positioning decisions that are made or have been made, whether it's Gillette or Bud Light or numerous others. I mean, the list just goes on, where the manufacturer, the company, decide to dump on and hate on their core customer base. Now, this is not something that they just wake up one morning. You know what? We're going to go and hate men. Let's do that. It didn't unfold that way, and I think the reality of the situation that caused this or spawned the whole exercise of how do we sort of change our customer base was spawned by declining sales. So there's a backstory to this. Sure, the end play was to hate on their core customer base, but that wasn't the calculation that led to that point. But we can certainly question it and say, how could these guys have been so fucking dumb to do that, to hate on their core customer base? So let's just go through this. Now, I've been at 100 meetings, like the sort of meetings that would have been held at Gillette or Bud or I don't know, Harley Davidson or wherever. I've been again at a gazillion of those meetings, and it goes something like this: the CEO, the board of directors, they're all there, and they're reading the numbers, and they're saying, look, sales are declining and have been declining for quite some time. We've tried different advertising campaigns, how great our product is. We've tried ginning sales up by doing promotions in the chain stores to try and get some traffic. We have a brief sort of bump in sales, but then as soon as the promos stop, the downward trend continues. So they're looking at it saying, okay, our premier flagship product is in a sales decline, and we need to do something about that, because if you extrapolate out the numbers and look at the sales decline, it means that we're going to be struggling in another year's time if we don't do something to arrest this sales decline. What do? We've tried all the traditional stuff of glossy adverts with smiling people, and we tried all that, the promos, the incentive discounts to the distribution channels. None of that's really having any lasting effect. So where do we go from here? So let's hire a super expensive advertising agency and get them to tell us, and we'll hire all sorts of consultants and people, pay them fuckloads of money, and they can tell us. Now, this is also a protecting the ass type thing, because if a new marketing campaign that's expensive doesn't work, then the numbers on Wall Street are bad, and then the investors start calling for blood. You can say, oh, it wasn't us. We went to the expert. Look how much we paid them. Look, we went to the expert. These are the experts, and they told us to do this. Not our fault. We didn't say. They just now that's of course just a ass covering, responsibility avoidance bullshit. And if you look at the format, I think in the Bud Light thing, they hire some activist Jewish chick. And tell, okay, you're going to be the front chick for this, and those frat boys, those straight white males, they're all fucking Nazis. And so the advertising agencies, the marketing agencies, the gurus, the advisors, there's no shortage of them out there. So look, the real issue is that the market's changing. The mix of the market is changing. That there's a whole new customer base out there you're just not appealing to. They're the black lesbians, they're the LGBTQ, they're the so on, and they're the chicks, the feminists. So they're this whole, they're the people in wheelchairs. So let's just combine, which is a political thing that goes on. Let's just combine this whole group into one, which they're not, but one amorphous group, and say, okay, this is the market. You're not sure you're getting the straight white males, and they're buying, for example, the beer or the shaving products, but they're using it less and less. There's a lot more people working from home now. There's a lot more people where to have a couple of days, growth is considered acceptable, if not stylish. There's a lot more non-white people in the overall consumer base now that don't shave. They have beards and they're maintaining and trimming their beards, and that sort of thing. So the whole mix has changed. The idea of the clean shave and shaving every day, guy that puts on the suit or something and goes to work, that's a little bit yesterday. So that's why your sales are in decline. There are fewer people in the overall scheme of things. Fewer people are shaving, and they're shaving less often. So that's so you need to go and find this new market, this invisible, this modern audience that's supposed to go and watch black lesbian movies and so on. This is where the market. Now, was the market ever there? Was there a huge, cache of customers there? This new modern customer base or new modern audience for movies. Well, no, I would argue it never was there. And even if those people did exist, on what basis will you convert them to shaving products or buying Bud Light? Now the ruminations inside the boardroom and with the advisors say, well, what else can you do? You've already got a downward trajectory of sales. You've already tried everything in the standard kit bag. Positive adverts, discounts. You've tried everything in the classic kit bag. So where else have you got to go? What else can you do other than go and chase this or try and chase this elusive modern audience or modern customer base of angry black lesbians? Now, are they going to make up for your loss? Well, based on just sheer numbers of, if you look at the LGBTQ, the feminist community, all this, you look at them out there, then technically there would be enough people to make up for the loss or the erosion and loss of the customer base in buying, shaving razors, as a case in point. Technically, there's enough. But of those, how many can you convert to becoming customers of your product? So, okay, what will make these customers come across? Will it be the quality of the product? Well, no, that's not. Will it be pricing? And will it be this? Can we position it? No. Well, what turns this audience on? This potential customer base. What excites them, and what gets their attention, whether it be emotional or otherwise? What gets their attention, so we can draw them to our product in the stores? They have one unifying fact: they all hate straight white men. They see, they've been taught through school and university, straight white men are the evil Nazi, fascist, Hitler, swastika oppressor. They've all been taught that. So why don't we use that to our advantage? And then we'll do an advertising campaign that hates on straight white men in the same way that they hate on straight white men. And then we'll all be on the same ideological page, and they'll flock into the stores to buy our product. Now, I'm not a highly paid marketing guru in fucking Wall Street or somewhere, but I would, red lights would be flashing all over the place if I heard some nonsense like that. So, okay, we're gonna say we hate our own customer base that we already have, a loyal customer base, in order to chase the remote and elusive prospect of acquiring a part of another customer base that we're not even sure exists. The consultants say, they're all out there, millions of them, they're all cashed out, and they'll have statistics that a million people, and they all have gazillion dollar incomes. They're all going to come sprint. Well, are they? So I this idea of taking that level of plunge into the abyss and into the unknown would be, I would write it off as or declare it as a foolhardy exercise in the extreme. But they did it. They just went in and bang into it. They went, and they lost lost part of their existing customer base without acquiring a new one. So if they did acquire a new customer base, it was minuscule. Maybe they can build on that. I don't. But they lost part of their existing customer base. And can you imagine this? The marketing guru pitching, saying, "What you need to do is just hate on your existing, just put hate on your existing customer base." Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that. Let's spend millions on that. What CEO would sign off on that? Now, there's a bit of sort of background here that there's a whole lot of funding, and guys like the BlackRocks and the State Street, all those sort of Vanguard, they control a huge part of the stock market, and they can go to a CEO or board members of the board of directors and say, look, if you do this, we'll because they've got the power to do it, we'll walk up your share price so that'll trigger your gazillion-dollar bonus. But if you don't do what we want, we'll walk the share price down and you'll be out of a fucking job. So if you're the board of directors, you're going, oh, gee, okay, well, I better toe the line on this one. So there would have been a decent amount of pressure coming from the BlackRocks saying, look, sales are in decline. What are you going to do about it? Well, you've got to do something. Well, the marketing agency said we should hate on straight white men. Oh yeah, well, give that a try. Yeah, okay. At least you're trying something new. So there would have been, and we like that idea because all the people in those big financial firms that can control the Wall Street pricing and the round robin churn stock sort of between each other to keep prices artificially wherever they want them to be. Those guys typically are also huge supporters of removing the power of straight white Christian Gentile males from all white societies or all Western societies. So they would be along with they would, oh yeah, okay, no, that fits in with our ideology. And so that's sort of how it would have happened. And the same goes for the Bud Light thing or other advertising campaigns. It's the same sort of thing, the same attitude prevails, and you can look at it in aghast with disbelief. I mean, you fucking idiots! You alienated your primary customer base with your primary core product. You're fucking morons. And you can take it, but if you consider all the other forces and all the other inducements and encouragements that were happening all around the place, you could look at that chain of restaurants recently that took out the old homey folksy sort of vibe and tried to turn it into some sort of sterile modern vanilla bullshit vibe, and the guy with the rocking chair on the porch, that sort of thing. That was similar in its the idea that sales are slipping, we have to do something. And I get that, by the way. There is an urgency. Your sales are going down anyway before they do any hate on men adverts. But the idea of how do you deal with it? Now, coming back to say Gillette, they lost, I wouldn't call it a disastrous loss, but it was clearly an unsuccessful campaign. Cost them a lot of money, but a lot of people who were in the sort of the crony network were handsomely rewarded. So that's how these things go. But they've been able to, as far as I can tell, recover a lot of this just through better. I've noticed how many times the certain Gillette products that I used to buy have been on promo and been on special, which make them the best buy. The best value buy. They brought out a new manual, wet shave shaving razor, or it may have been around before, and they re-released sort of some. It's a good quality product, and they reduced the price, and then there was a lot of promos, so you could pick it up. It was clearly the best value razor around, but Gillette had to spend a lot of money to do that. They had to reduce the price, reduce it again, put it on promo, have the promos sort of going pretty much all the time, and through that they've recovered quite a bit of ground, but they've had to throw a lot of money at that to do it, to recover that ground that they foolishly and stupidly lost. The other thing that sort of gets me is that and this is the silly part. Okay, you want to do an advertising campaign to find this elusive modern customer base, all these black lesbians that want to buy your product, all these imaginary. I mean, it's a fantasy world, but nonetheless. So you hire a radical man-hating feminist to do it, to do that. Excuse me? I mean, what sort of madness is this? The idea is that you're cool and calculating, and you want to try and attract that audience, assume it even exists, without alienating your current audience. Isn't that like simple mathematics here? But yet they didn't do it. And that to me is insanity. You've been a Tacitus today, your pushback challenge. Thank you for listening.